Yep. All right. Happy Sabbath. Going to continue our study through the books of the prophets, minor prophets, and Habakkuk is the next one. I'm Lee, by the way. Let's see. Zoom in a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Biblical Sabbath day, not Roman Sunday. That's the tradition of Rome. So let me pull this up here. Alright, got a few things pulled up. Alright, we go down to Rinse Septuagint, Habakkuk. Yeah, I'm noticing more and more how much of a translation that the Septuagint is. It preserves some earlier readings, so it's good in that respect. But the Samaritan Pentateuch also preserves and back on them. They let that name change. The Samaritan Pentateuch also preserves earlier readings. So. But it's only 5 books there. Like the Sadducees only kept 5 books of Moses. The Samaritans did the same thing. Interesting connection. But the Masoretic text preserves some too. So you got the Dead Sea Scrolls. Excuse me. Dead Sea Scrolls are the absolute oldest, most reliable documents we have. I'm echoing. Happy Sabbath. Well, let's see. Maybe it'll do better now. So the Septuagint preserves some readings that the Dead Sea Scrolls have. The Masoretic preserves some readings, and the Samaritan Pentateuch preserves some readings. But the Dead Sea Scrolls is the absolute most reliable text that we have, which is awesome because He gave it back to us at the end. And happy Sabbath, trust y'all. So, alright, so Habakkuk chapter 1. The burden which the prophet Habakkuk saw. How long, O Yahuwah, shall I cry out, and thou wilt not hearken? How long shall I cry to thee, being injured, and thou wilt not save? Why do you show me iniquity and look at perversity? For destruction and violence are before me. There is strife and contention rises up. Seems like our days right here. Iniquity is lawlessness. Everything's perverse. Destruction and violence are everywhere. Strife, contention, all over the place. Therefore the law is paralyzed and justice never prevails. So paralyzed or stopped completely. He just chose to translate it paralyzed. That would be interesting. Go to, so you go to the Hebrew word here. There we go. Let's see if it's in there. Paralyzed. No. Cursors. No times. Stop it. So here we got heavens were stopped. Genesis 8:2. Hopefully that fixed the sound. H5534. Sakar. And to shut up, stop up, being stopped, be shut up, give over. Go down here to Jusinius. Not the best lexicon, but a good one. I don't know if that's the same word there. I'd have to look at the scroll. But justice never prevails. The wicked surround the righteous. Sabav, surround. Therefore justice comes out perverted. Look among the nations, watch and wonder marvelously, for I am working a work in your days which you will not believe, though it is told you. For behold, I raise up the Chaldeans, that bitter and hasty nation, that march through the width of the earth, to possess dwelling places that are not theirs. They are feared and dreaded, their judgment and their dignity proceed from themselves. Their horses also are swifter than leopards, and are more fierce than the evening wolves. Their horsemen press on proudly, yes, their horsemen come from afar. They fly as an eagle that hurries to devour. All of them come for violence. Their hordes face the desert. He gathers prisoners like sand. Yes, he scoffs at kings, and princes are a derision to him. He laughs at every stronghold, for he builds up an earthen ramp and takes it. Then he sweeps by like the wind and goes on. He is indeed guilty, whose strength is his God. Is the sound an echo or just me? Happy Sabbath, D. I'm not sure. Everything should be about the same. Settings wise. I do want to put up sound stuff in here to cut down on the way the sound is in here. Haven't done that yet. Yeah, I'm not sure. That shouldn't be on there. So speakers, Realtek audio. Let's mute this. See if that helps. Did that help? It may have been speaker for my webcam. Is that any better? It's okay now. Yep, that's what it was. I don't know why this is on the settings here. Much better. Okay. Alright. So, if you want, you can mute me for the first 6 minutes and just read along. So, cool. Thank y'all. Appreciate that. I have to watch that in the future. I don't know why it's doing that. Huh. Aren't you from everlasting? Verse 12, Yahuwah my God, my Holy One, we will not die. Yahuwah, you have appointed him for judgment. You, Rock, have established him to punish. Now, that's interesting. If you go here, so Paul tells us who the Rock is. 1 Corinthians 10:4, all did drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them. Enoch says the same thing, that the cloud, the pillar of fire, and the pillar of smoke in the Exodus was the Messiah. And that rock was Christ. Paul says the exact same thing. He tells us who the rock is, and it's the same pillar of cloud. Same thing. So Messiah, that's what it's referencing. So, Yahuwah my God, my Holy One, we will not die. Yahuwah, that's using the tetragrammaton, the divine name. You have appointed him for judgment. You, Rock, we know who the rock is, have established him to punish. So it's saying, Yahuwah, you, Rock. I'm seeing this all over Scripture. We know who that is. That's the Messiah. I'm not replacing the Father like some people get twisted up. They see this stuff and they're like, oh, well, Messiah's the Father. No, he's not. There's one Most High, God Almighty. He sits in the heavens. Okay? He sent his Son to create everything. And if you create, so the Father creates the child. Messiah created us, makes him Father too. Not Most High Father, but Father. And he's also Rock, and the divine name is attributed to the Messiah too. And don't ask me, because I scratch my head sometimes, like, because I know he's not Father, but he is a Father. You know what I mean? Like I'm a father and a son. Like people get tripped up on this stuff all the time, and it is complicated. It can be. So you, rock, have established him to punish, talking about the Messiah. You who have purer eyes than to see evil, who cannot look on perversity. Why do you tolerate those who deal treacherously, and keep silent when the wicked swallows up the man who is more righteous than he? So he's asking, why do you do that? So 14. And wilt thou make men as the fishes of the sea, and as reptiles which have no guide? He takes all of them with the hook. He catches them in his net, and gathers them in his dragnet. Therefore he rejoices and is glad. 15. Therefore will he cast his net, and will not spare to slay the nations continually. Therefore he sacrifices to his net, burns incense to his dragnet, because by them his bread is luxurious and his food is good. Will he therefore continually empty his sword and kill the nations without mercy? So it's a question. Will he? This almost, in the Septuagint, almost sounds like he's going to do it. Therefore will he cast his net, and will not spare to slay the nations continually? Like future tense. But the Dead Sea Scrolls, it says, it's a question. Will he therefore continually empty his sword and kill the nations without mercy? So will he? I'm going to pull up. I don't know why I always get stuffed up when I start talking or streaming. Alright. So this is Giza Verme's Dead Sea Scrolls. If you wonder why I use this stuff so much, sorry, study the Dead Sea Scrolls about 15 times and you might find out why, or pray about it. Very important stuff. So fortunately we have the Habakkuk commentary. So sad people think that it's pretty clear in Scripture that it's the Father and the Son, not just one person. Yeah, it's the Father and the Son. Yep. Definitely. Where I think where it gets complicated is you call Yahusha God. They call him Jesus, but you call him God like Jude did, and like Thomas did, and like the early church did. They call him God because he is God. Well, people think you replaced the Father. They're like, well, you're calling Messiah God, so he's the Father? No. You can't be the Son of God and not be God. Just like my son can't be my son. He's my image, my replacement, just like Genesis, made in his image. See? That doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. And I have a child, it doesn't make me, I don't replace my father because I have a child. No, it makes me a father. See? And the Greeks are like grandfather, great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather. Hebrews didn't do that. They go, Abraham was our father, but Abraham wasn't their direct father. He would have been Greek thinking he would have been great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. No, just father. Just like my dad would be my children's father. And people are like, if they're not his father, you're his father. Our understanding is so messed up compared to biblical understanding. We write the wrong way. We think just because we say he's God, he's got to be replacing the Father. We say just because he's Father, he's got to be replacing the Father. Like, yeah. I know it's hard to detach from what we've been taught. Just because you say the earth is flat, oh, you're a flat earther. No, I'm just telling you what shape it is. God. He says we're going to be burned up and extinguished, so there's not going to be torture. No, it says there's going to be torture. Oh man, it is. I've learned to let things, just whatever, you know. Go study, go pray about it. So here is the commentary on Habakkuk, Dead Sea Scrolls, Geezer Burns. I'm only going to quote a short passage because I can't read the whole book to you. But so commentary on Habakkuk, Oracle of Habakkuk the prophet. How long ago Yahushua cry for help and thou wilt not hear? Interpreted. So this is the Zadok, sons of Zadok, Dead Sea Scrolls, John, Messiah, all those, the apostles went out to the wilderness, their library, their interpretation. Okay, so they tell you what the scriptures mean, which means my opinion don't matter. I don't have a dog in the fight for it. What matters is to me is it's correct, and I believe God gave them the correct interpretation, and He give it back to us at the end of the days. So you can take it, or if you want, or you can leave it. You can put your interpretation on it, whatever you want to do. I'm going to take it as this is more important than my opinion. Interpreted, this concerns the beginning of the final generation. So it tells you right off the bat, bam, Habakkuk 1, this is the final generation. And the final generation happened from when the Messiah came till now. There's the last days, that would be the last days, and this, what we're living in now, would be the end of days. So it could be referring to us, but it could be referring to any time between then and now. Or shout to thee violence, and thou wilt not deliver. Why dost thou cause me to see iniquity, and to look upon trouble? Desolation and violence are before me. God with oppression and unfaithfulness, they rob riches. Okay, so this tells you it. So this missing part here, that would be interpreted. You know, they would tell you this is interpreted. So this reminds me of the Pharisees. They were robbing the poor and stuff. There's quarreling and contention. So the law is weak. So we know that that's happening now. So the law is weak, and it's been happening. We see that in the early church writings where they were fighting back and forth. We see the church all through the Middle Ages, just quarreling and contention. Rabbis fighting rabbis and just all kinds of stuff. So the law is weak and justice never goes forth. Interpreted, this concerns those who despise the law of God. People have done that for a couple thousand years now. For the wicked encompasses the righteous. The wicked is the wicked priest, and the righteous is the teacher of righteousness. So this takes us back to then. Not now. This is then. And in my opinion, the teacher of righteousness was the Messiah. And the wicked priest would be whoever was opposing the Messiah, probably the high priest back then. So justice goes forth perverted. We see the Messiah over and over telling them that they perverted justice. So, you see if I can find it. Acts 13:10, and said, O full of all subtlety and all mischief, thou child of the devil, thou enemy of all righteousness, thou wilt not cease to pervert the right ways of Yahuwah, justice. Who's he talking to? Elymas, the sorcerer. And we know they perverted justice anyways. So, alright. Behold, the nations see and marvel and be astonished, for I accomplished a deed in your days, but you will not believe it when told. Alright, so interpreted, this concerns those who are unfaithful together with the liar. That's back then. And that they did not listen to the word received by the teacher of righteousness from the mouth of God. Where did Messiah get his doctrine from? The mouth of God. And it concerns the unfaithful of the new covenant. Okay. A lot of people don't realize this, but they tell you in the Dead Sea Scrolls they are the new covenant. This is the new covenant in the land of Damascus. So your New Testament believer, New Covenant believer, Dead Sea Scrolls. But it's not what you've been taught in church. So out here, right, the Damascus document, exhortation to the new covenant made in the land of Damascus. That's what the Messiah came to do. So he died so we could enter the new covenant. It concerns the unfaithful of the new covenant in that they have not believed in the covenant of God and have profaned his holy name. And likewise, this saying is to be interpreted as concerning those who will be unfaithful at the end of days. This refers to us. They, the men of violence and the breakers of the covenant, will not believe when they hear all that is to happen to the final generation from the priest in whose heart God has set understanding. I don't know who this is. That he might interpret all the words of his servants the prophets, through whom he foretold all that would happen to his people and his land. So, final generation, the priest could be John. So he told us, we see through the Dead Sea Scrolls what was going to happen. People don't believe what they're saying. For behold, I roused the Chaldeans, that bitter and hasty nation, that's the Romans. Interpreted this concerns the Kittim, Romans, who are quick and valiant in war, causing many to perish. All the world shall fall under the dominion of the Romans. The Kittim is still under their dominion, people. And the wicked, they shall not believe in the laws of God. Yep, they actually did away with them. Tried to anyways. Changed the Sabbath, got rid of the feast, instituted their own feasts. Who marched through the breadth of the earth to take possession of dwellings which are not their own. They shall march across the plains, smiting and plundering the cities of the earth, for it is, as he said, to take possession of dwellings which are not their own. They are fearsome and terrible, their justice and grandeur proceed from themselves. Interpret this concerns the Kittim, the Romans, who inspire all the nations with fear and dread. All their evil plotting is done with intention, and they deal with all the nations in cunning and guile. They already did all this. Their horses are swifter than leopards, and fleeter than evening wolves. Their horses step forward proudly and spread their wings. They fly from afar like an eagle, avid to devour. All of them come for violence. The look on their faces is like the east wind. Interpret this concerns the Kittim, who trample the earth with their horses and beasts. They come from afar, from the islands of the sea, to devour all the peoples like an eagle. They still use the eagle. You see that on our money. The Roman eagle, which cannot be satisfied, and they address all the peoples with anger and wrath and fury and indignation. For it is, as he said, the look on their faces is like the east wind. They heap up captives like the sand. They scoff at kings and princes or their laughing stock. Interpreted, this means that they mock the great and despise the venerable. See, people would read Habakkuk, and I've done it, and you'll read this and you'll think something totally different. And you'll think you're right. Until you read the priest's interpretation. So they mock the great and despise the venerable. They ridicule kings and princes and scoff at the mighty host. So they laugh at every fortress. They pile up earth and take it. Interpreted, this concerns the commanders of the Kittim, who despise the fortresses of the peoples and laugh at them in derision. To capture them, they encircle them with a mighty host, and out of fear and terror they deliver themselves into their hands. They destroy them because of the sins of their inhabitants. So because of the sins of the inhabitants of the lands, God gave them over to be trampled by the Kittim. See? The wind then sweeps on and passes. They make of their strength their God. Interpret, this concerns the commanders of the Kittim, who on the council of the house of guilt pass one in front of the other, one after another. Their commanders come to lay waste the earth, and they make of their strength their God. Interpret, this concerns all the peoples. So lay waste the earth, right? If you go to Daniel 7:23, thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces, which they did. That's wrong. Broken in pieces. They'll hide the truth. Yep, so wear out the saints of the Most High, think to change times and laws, given into his hand till a time and times and dividing of time. We're almost up. But then the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and destroy it until the end. And if you go to 2nd Ezra, 2nd Baruch, it says by the fourth beast the law was hidden. Let's see. Ezra's truth hidden. Psalm 119, 142, truth is law. 2nd Ezra 5:1, nevertheless, as coming tokens, behold, the day shall come that they which dwell upon the earth shall be taken in a great number, and the way of truth shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren of faith. So that's when the Romans came. And 2nd Baruch. There's some questionable things in Baruch and Ezra's I'm not sure about. Could be a translation issue because we don't have the Hebrew original. So, but there's some things that seem like pretty solid. Let's see if I can find it. I think it's chapter 39. Let's see. 21, 34. Okay, so he's given a vision, and then he's told what the vision is. All right, so Baruch, this is the interpretation of the vision which you've seen. If you've seen the great forest which is lofty and rugged mountains surrounded, this is the word. Behold, the days come, and this kingdom will be destroyed which once destroyed Zion, and it will be subjected to that which comes after it. Moreover, that also again after a time will be destroyed, and another a third will arise, and that will also have dominion for its time and will be destroyed. And after these things a fourth kingdom will arise, whose power will be harsh and evil, far beyond those which were before it, and it will rule many times as forest in the plain, times and half time. It will hold fast for times, and will exalt itself more than the cedars of Lebanon, and by it the truth will be hidden. All those who are polluted with iniquity, lawlessness will flee to it, as evil beasts flee and creep into the forest. And it will come to pass when the time of its consummation that it should fall has approached, then the precipitate of my Messiah will be revealed, which is like the fountain and the vine, and when it is revealed, it will root out the multitude of its hosts. So, we're getting close, people. Getting very close. So, lay waste the earth, they make of their strength their God. Interpret this concerns all the peoples. Art thou not from everlasting, O Yahuwah, my God, my Holy One? We shall not die. Thou hast ordained them, O Yahuwah, for judgment. Thou hast established them, O rock, for chastisement. Their eyes are too pure to behold evil, and thou canst not look on their distress. And I'll take this, and I'll look at this, and I'll look at my scriptures, and be like, okay, how's it different? Because they're quoting scripture right now. So you can use that as a litmus test to see how accurate your translation is. Interpreted this saying means that God will not destroy his people by the hand of the nations. God will execute judgment of the nations by the hand of his elect. We see that in Enoch. We see that in the New Testament. We see it in the Old Testament. We see it all over. He's going to execute judgment by the hand of his elect. He uses Israel. And through their chastisement, all the wicked of his people shall expiate their guilt, who keep his commandments in their distress. For it is, as he said, in their distress, time of tribulation coming up. So expiate, he will atone for their guilt. For it is as he said, too pure of eyes to behold evil. Interpreted, this means that they have not lusted after their eyes during the age of wickedness. They have not lusted after their eyes. O traitors, why do you stare and stay silent when the wicked swallows up one more righteous than he? So this is for us right here. Verse 12 and 13. Interpreted, this concerns the house of Absalom and the members of its council who were silent at the time of the chastisement of the teacher of righteousness, and gave him no help against the liar who flouted the law in the midst of the whole congregation. So you see how it switches up. That's why it's hard to follow sometimes. It's hard for us to switch. See, they were talking about something different here, and then they switched to us, and then they switched back to previous. It's like scripture. Thou dealest with men like the fish of the sea, like creeping things to rule over them. They draw them all up with a fish hook and drag them out with their net and gather them in their seine. Therefore they sacrifice to their net. Therefore they rejoice and exult and burn incense to their seine. For by them their portion is fat and their sustenance rich. The Kittim, the Romans, and they shall gather in their riches together with all their booty, like the fish of the sea. And as for that which he said, therefore they sacrifice to their net and burn incense to their seine. Interpreted, this means that they sacrifice to their standards and worship their weapons of war. That's some serious, violent people. They sacrifice to their standards, you know, what they carry in war, their banners and stuff. And they worship their weapons of war. For by them their portion is fat and their sustenance rich. Interpreted, this means that they divide their yoke and their tribute, their sustenance over all the peoples year by year, ravaging many lands. They ruled over the earth, broke it all, tore it to pieces. And Kittim descended from Javan, which the Greeks were Javan, and he descended from Japheth. So, therefore their sword is ever drawn to massacre nations mercilessly. Interpreted, this concerns the Kittim, who cause many to perish by the sword, youths, grown men, the aged, women, and children, and who even take no pity on the fruit of the womb. And you'll see they descended from Japheth, and the northern area was given to Japheth, so that would be white people. But Japheth had more sons than Javan, and Japheth had more grandsons, I think it's grandsons, than Kittim. So it's not all white people. But Greece, and I don't think Greece was ruthless like that, but the Kittim, the ones that came from Kittim, that's a different breed of white people altogether. And there's tons of different nationalities. That's like saying all of Ham's descendants were Egyptians, like Mitzrayim. No, just one little section was Mitzrayim. There's a bunch of other descendants of Ham. So that's why racism's stupid. I will take my stand to watch and will station myself upon my fortress. I will watch to see what he will say to me and how he will answer my complaint. And Yahuwah answered and said to me, write down the vision and make it plain upon the tablets, that he who reads it may read it speedily. So this is chapter 2. Let me go up here. It took 30 minutes to get through one chapter. Alright, so Habakkuk 2. I will stand at my watch and set myself on the ramparts and will look out to see what he will say to me and what I will answer concerning my complaint. Yahuwah answered me, write the vision and make it plain on tablets, that he who runs may read it. We just read that. For the vision is yet for the appointed time, and it hurries toward the end and won't prove false. Though it takes time, wait for it, because it will surely come, it won't delay. Behold, his soul is puffed up, it is not upright in him, but the righteous will live by his faith. Yes, moreover, wine is treacherous, an arrogant man who doesn't stay at home, who enlarges his desire as Sheol. Sheol is the underworld. Not like the Greeks view it. Let's see. If they're still on here. Yeah, there we go. It's a good picture. Yeah, so Sheol, underneath the earth. So I'm not sure if it's perfect, but that's a decent representation. So you got the firmament, the vault. He spreads out the heaven like a tent. The earth is on firmly foundations. The heavens set on foundations. You got the great deep. You got Sheol, chambers in the earth. That's how it looks. Yep. So yep. This gives you an idea. And then, so when you throw away what we've been taught. We saw that ball in the classroom when we were in kindergarten. Toss that in the trash. And then when you read scriptures and look at this, then you start to understand what the word says. because he tells us exactly how it is. So he is like death and can't be satisfied, but gathers to himself all nations and heaps to himself all peoples. Sounds like the Kettim want all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him and say, woe to him who increases that which is not his, and who loads himself with thick mud. So these marked out ones are not in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And these are not in our modern Bibles. Won't your debtors rise up suddenly, and won't wake up those who make you tremble? And wake up those who make you tremble, and you will be their victim, because you have plundered many nations. All the remnant of the peoples will plunder you, because of men's blood, and for the violence done to the land, to the city, and to all who dwell in it. So the Romans trampled Jerusalem and the land. And he has not forgotten that they did that. He allowed them to do it, or used them to do it, but it's his land. Won't your debtors rise up suddenly and wake up those who make you tremble? Yep. Because you have plundered many nations, all the remnant of the peoples will plunder you. 8. Woe to him who gets an evil gain for his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the hand of evil. You have devised shame to your house by cutting off many peoples, and have sinned against your soul. For the stone will cry out of the wall, and the beam out of the woodwork will answer it. So 11. Hard to keep up with here. 12. So 12, chapter 2. Woe to him that builds a city with blood and establishes a city by unrighteousness. Behold, isn't it of Yahuwah of armies that the peoples labor for the fire and the nations weary themselves for vanity? So it's of Yahuwah, for the earth will be filled with the knowledge of Yahuwah's glory as the waters cover the sea. So it will be filled. Woe to him who gives his neighbor drink, pouring your inflaming wine until they are drunk, so that you may gaze at their naked bodies. So to be clothed would be keeping God's commandments. So we clothe each other. You can give somebody clothes, then you clothe each other by helping them keep God's commandments, telling them what the commandments are, so they're not naked and ashamed. And you give them a father. They're fatherless when they don't have God's commandments, but when they have God's commandments, they have a father. They're not orphaned, they're sons or daughters. You are filled with shame and not glory. You will also drink and be exposed. The cup of Yahuwah's right hand will come around to you, and disgrace will cover your glory. For the violence down to Lebanon will overwhelm you, and the destruction of the animals which made them afraid, because of men's blood, and for the violence done to the land, to every city, and to those who dwell in it. So not them, it. What value does the engraved image have that its maker has engraved it? The molten image, even the lying appearance, that he who fashions it its form trust in it to make mute idols. Woe to him who says to the wood, awake, or to the mute stone, arise. Shall this teach? Behold, it is overlaid with gold and silver, and there is no breath at all within it. But Yahuwah is in his holy temple. Let all the earth be silent before him. So now we're going to go to here. And God told Habakkuk to write down that which would happen to the final generation, but he did not make known to him when time would come to an end. What did Messiah say? Where's it at? They asked him, have you come, wilt thou at this time restore again the kingdom of Israel? He said unto them, it is not for you to know the times or the seasons which the Father hath put in his own power. And as for that which he said, that he who reads it may read it speedily. Interpret this concerns the teacher of righteousness, to whom God made known all the mysteries of the words of his servants the prophets. For there shall be yet another vision concerning the appointed time. It shall tell to the end and shall not lie. Interpret this means that the final age shall be prolonged and shall exceed all that the prophets have said, for the mysteries of God are astounding. So that's he extended this age. That's why it went from the Messiah till now. If it tarries, wait for it surely shall come and shall not be late. Interpret this concerns the men of truth who keep the law, whose hands shall not be slackened in the service of truth when the final age is prolonged. For all the ages of God reach their appointed end, as he determines for them in the mysteries of his wisdom. Behold, his soul is puffed up and is not upright. Interpret this means that the wicked shall double their guilt upon themselves, and it shall not be forgiven when they are judged. But the righteous shall live by his faith. Interpret this concerns all those who observe the law in the house of Judah, whom God will deliver from the house of judgment because of their suffering and because of their faith in the teacher of righteousness. Moreover, the arrogant man seizes wealth without halting. He widens his gullet like hell, and like death he has never enough. All the nations are gathered to him, and all the peoples are assembled to him. Will they not all of them taunt him and jeer at him, saying, Woe to him who amasses that which is not his. How long will he load himself up with pledges? Interpret this concerns the wicked priest who was called by the name of truth when he first arose. But when he ruled over Israel, his heart became proud, and he forsook God and betrayed the precepts for the sake of riches. He robbed and amassed the riches of the men of violence who rebelled against God, and he took the wealth of the peoples, heaping sinful iniquity upon himself, and he lived in the ways of abominations amidst every unclean defilement. So the book of Maccabees blames it on the Greeks, and the Dead Sea Scrolls say the Greeks didn't do it. So, go down, yeah. But whoever this is here, that's who took over. Come back up. Oh, sore back. So the wicked priest who was called by the name of truth when he first arose. Shall not your oppressors suddenly arise and your torturers awaken, and shall you not become their prey? Because you have plundered many nations, all the remnant of the people shall plunder you. Interpreted, this concerns the priests who rebelled and violated the precepts of God to command his chastisement by the means of the judgments of wickedness, and they inflicted horrors of evil diseases and took vengeance upon his body of flesh. And as for that which he said, because you have plundered many nations, all the remnant of the people shall plunder you. Interpreted, this concerns the last priests of Jerusalem. So that sounds, I thought it was the Romans, but it's not. It's the priests of Jerusalem, who shall amass money and wealth by plundering the peoples, the wicked priests. But in the last days their riches and booty shall be delivered into the hands of the army of the Kittim. So Messiah went against them, they killed Messiah, and then God judged them, and he destroyed Jerusalem. For it is they who shall be the remnant of the peoples. Because the blood of men and violence done in the land, to the city and to all its inhabitants. Interpreted, this concerns the wicked priest, whom God delivered into the hands of his enemies, because of the iniquity committed against the teacher of righteousness and the men of his counsel, that he might be humbled by means of a destroying scourge and bitterness of soul, because he had done wickedly to his elect. So the people in the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Messiah, the apostles, the elect, just like there's elect living today. Woe to him who gets evil profit for his house, who perches his nest high to be safe from the hand of evil. You have devised shame to your house by cutting off many peoples. You have forfeited your own soul, for the stone cries out from the wall, and the beam from the woodwork replies. Interpret, this concerns the priest, who, that its stones might be laid in oppression, and the beam of its woodwork in robbery. And as for that which he said, by cutting off many peoples, you have forfeited your own soul. Interpret, this concerns the condemned house, whose judgment God will pronounce in the midst of many peoples. He will bring him thence for judgment, and will declare him guilty in the midst of them, and will chastise him with fire of brimstone. By cutting off many peoples, you have forfeited your own soul. Woe to him who builds a city with blood and founds a town upon falsehood. Behold, it is not from Yahuwah of hosts that the peoples shall labor for fire, and the nations shall strive for naught. Interpret this concerns the spouter of lies who led many astray. They said, Messiah said they were of their father the devil. He was a liar from the beginning. That he might build his city of vanity with blood and raise a congregation on deceit, causing many thereby to perform a service of vanity for the sake of his glory, and to be pregnant with works of deceit, that their labor might be for nothing, and that they might be punished with fire, who vilified and outraged the elect of God. So the elect of God was outraged, and God noticed. For as the waters cover the sea, and I think there's a fine line, but too many believers want to be on one side where we're beating people over the head all the time, outraged and zealous and all this stuff for God. And then there's the other side, like, peace, peace, we don't need to argue, we don't need to split hairs about this or that, it's all happy, give me a hug, There's a middle ground somewhere there. Like, no, we're not supposed to be outraged all the time or beating people over the head all the time, but we're supposed to be speaking the truth in love. And love ain't always just happy. You know what I mean. So the elect of God was outraged. For as the waters cover the sea, so shall the earth be filled with the knowledge of the glory of Yahuwah. Interpret this means that when they return, the lies and afterwards knowledge shall be revealed to them abundantly, like the waters of the sea. When they return, knowledge be revealed abundantly. So Daniel 12. Daniel 12:4, but thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. So, woe to him who causes his neighbors to drink, who pours out his venom to make them drunk. And it says in Enoch that knowledge will be given back to the elect at the end, after the age of apostasy. Woe to him who causes his neighbors to drink, pours out his venom to make them drunk, that they may gaze on their feast. Interpret this concerns the wicked priest who pursued the teacher of righteousness to the house of his exile, that he might confuse him with his venomous fury. And at the time appointed for rest, for the day of atonement, he appeared before them to confuse them and to cause them to stumble on the day of fasting, their Sabbath of repose. Yes, the day of atonement is a day of fasting. You have filled yourself with ignominy more than with glory. Drink also and stagger. The cup of Yahuwah's right hand shall come around to you, and shame shall come on your glory. Interpret this concerns the priest whose in ignominy was greater than his glory, for he did not circumcise the foreskin of his heart, and he walked in the ways of drunkenness, that he might quench his thirst. But the cup of the wrath of God shall confuse him, multiplying his and the pain of. So, drunkenness as in circumcise the foreskin of your heart, keep my commandments. So he didn't do that. He walked in the ways of drunkenness, the ways of darkness. For the violence done to Lebanon shall overwhelm you, and the destruction of the beast shall terrify you because of the blood of men, and the violence done to the land, the city, and all its inhabitants. Interpreted, this concerns the wicked priest, inasmuch as he shall be paid the reward with which he himself tendered to the poor. For Lebanon is the counsel of the community, and the beasts are the simple of Judah who keep the law, as he himself says. It's interesting, the scrolls, they tell you who these are. You would never think that the beast up here in this verse are the simple of Judah who keep the law. Or I would never think that. I would think the beasts are the nations. As he himself plotted the destruction of the poor, so will God condemn him to destruction. And as for that which he said, because of the blood of the city and the violence done to the land, interpreted, the city is Jerusalem. I thought that. Where the wicked priest committed abominable deeds and defiled the temple of God. You know, when Messiah went in there and flipped those tables over and cracked the whip. That's why. The wicked priest defiled the temple, not the Greeks. The violence done to the land, and they probably read the book of Maccabees too. These are the cities of Judah where he robbed the poor of their possessions. Of what use is an idol that its maker should shape it, a molten image, a fatling of lies? For the craftsman puts his trust in his own creation when he makes dumb idols. Interpret, this concerns all the idols of the nations which they make, so that they may serve them and serve and worship them, but they shall not deliver them on the day of judgment. Christmas trees, crosses up in churches, steeples, obelisks, Easter bunnies and eggs, Halloween decorations. Just it's all over the place. There's probably a lot I missed. So this is the end of the commentary here. And woe to him who says to wood, awake, to dumb stone, arise. Can such a thing give guidance? Behold, it is covered with gold and silver, but there is no spirit within it. But Yahuwah is in his holy temple. Let all the earth be silent before him. Interpret, this concerns all the nations which serve stone and wood. But on the day of judgment, God will destroy from the earth all idolatrous and wicked men. And Enoch talks about that. Enoch chapter 50 and other places where the work of their hands, their idols, they worship stone and wood. Yep, the cross is an idol. So 20. I think that's it there. Habakkuk 3. Let's see. A prayer of Habakkuk the prophet set to victorious music. Yahuwah, I have heard your fame. I stand in awe of your deeds. Yahuwah, renew your work in the middle of the years. In the middle of the years, make it known. In wrath, you remember mercy. Elohim, God, came from Teman, the Holy One from Mount Paran, Selah. His glory covered the heavens, and his praise filled the earth. Yep, on the clouds. He's coming on the clouds. Mark 13:26. Then shall you see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory. His splendor is like the sunrise, rays shine from his hand where his power is hidden. Plague went before him, and pestilence followed his feet. He stood and shook the earth. He looked and made the nations tremble. The ancient mountains were crumbled. The age-old hills collapsed. His ways are eternal. He stood and shook the earth. Sounds like Mount Olives. Zechariah 14:4, and his feet shall stand on that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east, and the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west, and there shall be a very great valley, and half the mount shall remove toward the north, and half it toward the south. I believe that's also in 2nd Ezra, and I'm sure it's other places as well. I saw the tents of Cushan in affliction. The dwellings of the land of Midian trembled. Was Yahuwah displeased with the rivers? Was your anger against the rivers, or your wrath against the sea, that you rode on your horses, on your chariots of salvation? You uncovered your bow, you called for your sworn arrows, Selah. This is a favorite for Brother Josh here. Zechariah 9:13, when I bent Judah for me, he filled the bow with Ephraim, and raised up thy sons, O Zion, against thy sons, O Greece, and made thee as the sword of a mighty man. So Judah's the bow, house of Judah. The arrows are Ephraim, house of Israel. Cross necklace, say thank you, crazy, when you won't have to warn them about it. Yep. Sometimes I don't know. I mean, it's good to tell people, but if their ears aren't open to hearing, then it's just, I don't know. Tell them now, maybe they'll realize later. Yeah, it's definitely not good. I mean, I didn't know, but it's no excuse. You split the earth with rivers. The mountains saw you and were afraid. The clouds poured out water. The deeps roared and lifted up its hands on high. The sun and moon stood still in the sky. At the light of your arrows as they went, at the shining of your glittering spear. So his arrows, Ephraim, Joseph, Israel. You marched through the land in your wrath. Sounds like Book of Joel. And that's interesting. The sun and the moon stood still. Yeah. You went out for the salvation of your people, for the salvation of your anointed. That happened when he went out for the salvation of his people last time. I think. Pretty sure. You crushed the head of the land of wickedness. You stripped them head to foot. Selah. You pierced the heads of his warriors with their own spears. They came as a whirlwind to scatter me, gloating as if to devour the wretched in secret. You trampled the sea with your horses, churning mighty waters. I heard and my body trembled. My lips quivered at the voice. Rottenness entered into my bones, and I trembled in my place, because I must wait quietly for the day of trouble. Blessed are those who wait. Day of trouble, day of tribulation, for the coming up of the people who invade us. For though the fig tree doesn't flourish, so all the nations are gathered to fight against Jerusalem. That's not the fake end times thing. That's when he actually comes. There's going to be a destruction of Jerusalem, and they're going to say, look, they gathered to fight against Jerusalem, support Jerusalem. But no, the Antichrist rules first, then the Messiah comes. Isaiah 29:7, the multitude of all the nations that fight against Jerusalem, Ariel, even all that fight against her and her munition, and that distress her, shall be as a dream of the night vision. You can read more about that in there. But yeah, that's what Ariel's referencing. I think is it Zechariah also? Yep, so Zechariah 14:3, Yahuwah shall go forth and fight against those nations as he fought when he fought in the day of battle. Day of battle could be referring to the earlier Israel. Yep, so I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, the house is rifled, the women ravished, half the city shall go forth into captivity, the rest of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Yep. Anyways. For though the fig tree doesn't flourish, nor fruit be in the vines, the labor of the olive fails, the fields yield no food, the flocks are cut off from the fold, there is no herd in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in Yahuwah, I will be joyful in the God of my salvation. This is what we're supposed to do. Yahuwah, the Lord, the Master, is my strength. He makes my feet like deer's feet and enables me to go in high places. For the music director on my stringed instruments. Beautiful. Good night, D. Thanks for coming out. Happy Sabbath. About to wrap it up now. Alright, so we got through Habakkuk. I know that was kind of fast. If you need to slow me down, click the gearbox somewhere up there and you can slow it down. But I was trying to get through, because it's only 3 chapters, I was trying to get through just do the book. That way I don't have a video of 2 chapters and then do another video for 1 chapter, you know. So, we got through it. Hopefully I didn't go too fast. But yeah. Let's see. That's an awesome poem right there. Or prayer. Kind of like a song. So, if you have anything that I might have missed, drop a comment, let me know. If you got a question, I can try to answer. I don't know everything, but, you know, I can try to answer. And, God bless you. Hope this was a blessing and helpful to you. And, yep, hope you enjoy the rest of your Sabbath. And have a good one.